Always a pleasure to make contact. This is the second meeting of Friends of the Republic, people in the Republic, mostly veterans and people who are actively part of forming the Republic. And you see the website is at the bottom of the screen. Anyone can join. My understanding is that when 30,000 people per state, and there are 8 offices that need to be fulfilled, need to be inhabited for the white hats to step in with the Jassara elections. So this is a very important broadcast in that sense. Not that I'm important, but that the Republic is the way forward. We are walking away from the corporate America, this corporate parasitic foundational theft criminal organization, and we are coming back into what I would call divine law and the Republic.
Eli, if I can
Yeah.
interrupt, I think you have Paul Rodriguez and some other people waiting in the back room.
Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, I see Deb. Yeah, you can interrupt anytime. I tend to talk too much anyway, but Deb's here. But what I would like to emphasize on this second broadcast, and we will be doing this broadcast, God willing, every Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. This is essentially, hey, Mommy Wolverine, thanks for joining us. This is essentially a call to action. We are calling the veterans out there who have sworn an oath, from my understanding. And again, I'm not a veteran. I had my dad served in World War II, but that's my only connection. And my father-in-law was in the Navy, so I do have some connection to veterans. I am very respectful and very honored to be in their presence. I consider it, their service has kept the country going, but now we are at a very difficult, a very intricate kind of precipice, as Q would say. We're at the precipice here, and it is very important that veterans help us with this call to action by joining the Republic and inhabiting if it's a need in your state, if they don't have enough people to inhabit all the offices, there are 8 per state. So everyone, we're calling out to veterans in particular, but anyone really to join us in re-inhabiting the Republic that never really went. It never went anywhere. It just, the corporate parasitic criminal organization took over the apparent or the illusion of governance in the United States and throughout the world. But now we are reclaiming our sovereignty. We are reclaiming our like individual identities to be members of the state and not members of this satanic world order. We are starting a new wave of divine governance. So I urge everyone to please get on the website, join. There are a couple of lines on the left-hand part of the screen, and you can join the Republic. You can volunteer for service, but we need everybody. We're calling all patriots, calling all good people, calling all people who believe in the divine spirit to come together and re-inhabit this divine system of governance. It's more according to Jassara law, the government will be 10% of the size it is now, and we're seeing with all this corruption, you see why it was so big, because it was a big balloon of money laundering, of child trafficking, of illicit activities, and the continuance of wars for satanic purposes. We are coming back to divine order, and we call all people, especially veterans, to come and join us. So I'm going to yield to whoever wants to pick up, and we'll just keep shuffling folks in and out of our little platform here. Perhaps I can give it over to Big Bird. Big Bird has a very strong background in information intelligence, so maybe he can help us with establishing a foothold, a beachhead for veterans and others to join the Republic.
Hey, Ellie, I
Can you
appreciate
turn my
the,
phone?
I'm sorry, turn your, you want me to mute you?
Yeah, this is Nancy from Georgia, and my chat is not turned on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, Big
Okay,
Bird.
I'm not sure. No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, I see. Okay, Robin is not in, and Paul. Okay, so yeah, whoever wants to go ahead, go ahead. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Big Bird, but I thought you
no,
might.
no, you're fine. You're fine, brother. Listen, I was starting to talk there, but I guess the middle of my sentence interrupted Governor Nancy.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
Sorry.
No, on a serious note, though, Governor Carpenter and I, we're close friends. We have a long history over the last couple of years, running a lot of same circles. He just happens to be in Durango, and I'm over in Colorado Springs. I'm serving as his interim county clerk for El Paso County here in Colorado, which is one of the largest counties in Colorado. And we were initially settled in 2012. Resettled again in 2021, and then we updated our amendment in 2024, I believe. So we've resettled El Paso County 3 separate times. Needless to say, I think we've got enough experience here and footnotes that we're more than happy to help others along. But in our conversation, me and Governor Carpenter last night, I was like, Jim, look, bud, I'm having a hard time getting people to even like grasp what it is that we're doing. And he said, okay, well, this is a 3-minute conversation. He said, I want you to take them first to the Law of War Manual. I said, yeah, I'm intimately familiar with that. I've read through it, not because I was in the military, but because I started picking up on the tea leaves that people like Derek Johnson were putting down. And so I've read through it, and it discusses in depth about removing the belligerent occupier. Well, we saw after the election what happened to the map. That if you went to Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or Bing or whatever, and you went to look for Washington D.C., it was just Washington. District of Columbia is gone. That 10 square miles of foreign occupied territory, well, that falls right in line with 11.3 of the Law of War Manual, removing the belligerent occupier. So Governor Carpenter took it a step further, and he says, okay, well, now I want you to take a look at the introduction to, or the company commander's introduction to the Law of War Manual, and there's some verbiage that was changed. And Governor, you're going to have to help me here because I don't have specifics, but it went from whatever it was before to sovereign, and taking back our sovereign land as state citizens, or state nationals, not so much as citizens or inhabitants or sovereign citizens, because the term citizen, it takes a Black's Law dictionary. If you don't know what that is, I would strongly encourage you to look it up. Because the etymology of words is crucial here. You have to understand what it is that they've been putting in writing, and a lot of it has been fool's gold, so to speak, and it doesn't mean what you think it does. So anyway, with that, going back several years, good friends with our Secretary of State, Dr. Sandy Marecki. She helped me and several others during COVID. And she was actually the one who invited me to the Republic. And I just felt like it was God's calling that I came back to service to our country. I miss being in the military. I miss the camaraderie. A lot of things I don't miss, like bad decisions by commanding officers, the deployments, standing duty, the bad food, getting shot at, things of that nature. Those things I don't miss. But the people and the call to service, it's humbling and it's an honor to be here. And thanks for calling on me. Over.
Yeah, I guess the 11.3 in the Law of War Manual, I was understanding this is the occupying power. So what is the consensus here? Big Bird is saying that they are no longer the occupying power. Has the military changed? Is the situation changed now?
Governor Carpenter, if I could address this. The DOD Law War Manual 2015, when you go down to section 11, that's the background with Nuremberg, and then 11.3, it talks about the lawful civil authority. So my question to Big Bird, why did they change the verbiage in 2020 introduction to the commanders, and it's now the sovereign authority? And there was something that happened in that interim. In 2014, General Vallée and Boykin were examined our documents and reported back. And I'm sure that once that report was analyzed and looked over, that they obviously felt a need to clarify who they were representing. Were they representing the lawful civil authority or the sovereign authority, which we became during that time period?
Yeah.
I yield.
Well, I'll fire back with the civil authority means that we were under the de facto, the corporation. And for anybody that doesn't think that we're a corporation, I'm going to redirect you to Title 28, Code 3002, subsection 15 alpha, definition of United States, a federal corporation. Everything we live in is a corporation. The city, state, country you live in, they're all corporations. We're under a corporate structure that was by maritime law that fell under the imperial rule of the crown. And if you haven't seen the Trump capitulation tour or Fall of the Cabal, I mean, it's all spelled out there. He went around the world and he did a lot of things that people seem to have forgot because everybody's got the memory of a gnat. He went first. He went over to Saudi Arabia and cleaned house there. Then he went to the Vatican, and as Dr. Jan Helper Hayes said on the British News Network, you should have seen the look on the Pope's face. And it took us 650 planes to get our gold back, and the newscasters were just dumbfounded. They had this incredulous look, both of them on their faces, like, what? And Dr. Hayes says, that's right, 650 planes to get our gold back. Okay, well, everybody's kind of pondering that. Then he went on to North Korea, stepped foot, first president of the United States of a corporation to step foot into North Korea. And, this is a pretty long rabbit hole, and I don't want to eat up a whole lot of time talking, but there's more we can discuss down the road if you'd like. It's just the capitulation tour really set it out, and everything that's happening now in Trump's second term, he has severed the lifelines of the imperial crown over this country. And the deep state is doing everything they can to fight back. They're not going to go quietly. That's why there's what I consider noise, all these distractions. Savannah Guthrie's mom, who cares? What about the 40,000 people that just got slaughtered in Iran? Not a peep on the MSM, right? And what's going on in Minnesota? That's less than 1% of the fraud that's going on in the United States. If you look at all the blue states and the heat map of where ICE is operating, that looks remarkably like all the blue states. And they just passed the SAVE Act in the House, and I know this is kind of detouring, but it is relevant. because it's playing into the downfall of the corporation. And honestly, I'm excited each and every day that we get closer, that we're called upon. I'm praying for the day that we get called upon and we have to stand up those interim seats, and the military is there to say, hey, we've got people in place. Let's go ahead and fire away with these fair elections done on paper, in person, one day. Thank you. I yield.
Eli, you and I are together on what's the the one that you're on with your live stream?
Rumble or X?
Yes, we're both on Rumble. We're on X together, and on
YouTube and
YouTube.
Facebook.
No, I'm not on YouTube or Facebook, but I'm also on Truth Social. And basically what I did last week after our last podcast, Paul had copied it for us, and I took the link to that and I put it on Rumble, I put it on X, and I put it on Truth Social, in each of the ones that cater to veterans. And some of those are the same kind of groups in one to another. And so I'm a member on about 3 different ones on all 3. And I put the link on there and I said, find out about your country. Go ahead and reinstate the value of your vote. Because right now, according to the last 2 or 3 elections, our votes were all diminished in their strength. So if you want to re-strengthen that, here's how. I also have put in the links to Sandy's podcast with the SG and on and with the other. And I've been putting those on, and I've been getting people that are interested, and because so many of them, especially the Desert Storm and Afghanistan people, aren't really as organized at this point, and they have nobody to really turn to. And as we said, that this was something that we want to get geared toward. And so any of our social medias where you see something that are attuned to veterans, into military, and that, drop a thing in. Get them interested, get them hungry, because if they really understand that they fought, they cried, they sweated, and they bled blood for their oath that they made to the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution is what we are trying to bring back in its totality to the re-inhabitation for the Republic of the United States of America. And if there is a focus away from that by having us swear an oath to a corporation, there's something lost there. I don't want to die for somebody's corporation, but I would die. I already signed my name to a check to them up to my death for the Constitution of the United States of America. I pledge my allegiance to that same flag, not to the corporation. And those are the things that we have to present to them, because that gives value. That gives value to what they signed up for, what they even got for those on the other side, like yourself, who would have or might have been drafted for. Now, they would have had your rear end for an activated 19 months, but in 19 months, when you figure 1 week in any kind of a war seems like a lifetime. So those are the things we have to present to them and put a value to what patriotism means, put a value to what honor, put a value to duty, so that they can understand that and pick it up. Because right now, if you go in and you start slapping them with the law of war manual, and that's going to be so far over their head. It's it's something for them to pick up on, just like I did. I picked up on it after the fact, not before it. Because if I would have picked it up before, I would have drowned in the verbiage. But I wanted to serve my country, and my country is the Republic for the United States of America, not the corporation. And I yield.
And let me just comment on that. Michael is one of our vets who has put his life on the line, was in battle, suffered so much, but yet this man still stands for the Republic.
Yes.
And I think what we have to understand is what he's saying is, get as many people to understand that, this is a corporate America. They're all our states are registered on Dun and Bradstreet as a corporation. If you go look them up, Colorado corporation, every county is a corporation. So we have to realize who we gave our oath to, and know that here's our chance to give our oath to the right republic and to make things right, not only for us, but for all those men that are in those cemeteries, which are thousands. If you ever go look for rows and rows of white tombstones, those are all the men that are with us right now saying, make this right, and that's what our job is to make this right. So I appreciate all the vets that came on today. Big Bird is one of our political, not our political, but one of our Republic pillars. He is currently serving the military right now. And we appreciate his service and all he has to say. Most of these guys have gone down the road of waking up and have woke up for quite a while. And some of the references that they give you, like Derek Johnson, are some of these people that we respect now, because we went and looked at their documents. We saw how everything tied together, and we are tied to this also as part of the COG, continuity of government operation. The Biden administration, or the Biden clown show, was put there for a reason, to expose more and more, and they need an off ramp. Once this cabal goes down, what is that off ramp? That off ramp is the Republic. So I yield.
I would ask Nancy, the interim governor for Georgia. We're talking about, we need to understand that each rule on the screen, each individual individual corporation, the evil ones treat a corporation not as a human, definitely not as a sovereign. Like when you go to court and the judges, that they are sitting in front of a dead entity. They don't even say a dead person. We're just a dead entity. And behind us is our social security number, our birth certificate. They're not really looking at us at all. It kind of looks like they're looking at us, but they're looking behind us to see what's the best for the. And that's how they deal with that. And we, the public, we are reaching out to the but imagine if you're on board. So all of the commanders of the American Legion or Republic for USA.org. Thank you to our main website, and reach out to us, get involved. Just imagine how this would explode if we could board the retired vets, the people that's in the American Legion. And so I'm reaching out personally from Georgia. I need help. Right now, Georgia has 3 people that are in the Republic serving positions, state positions, and I'm working as hard as I can. So we need our website and get them, because when you really realize that you are working for a corporation and that corporation takes and takes and takes and such, and will never take that because they need that we live in fear. So our frequencies are lower, and they, the evil ones, self our frequencies. And just imagine if we could just get the vets on board. And my family's full of vets. We go all the way back many generations. So that being said, I yield.
I would just like to add, as a reference point, that we will be doing this broadcast every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested in this conversation, if you're a veteran, if you served, and you want to help us re-inhabit the Republic, we will, God willing, do this every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You could tell other people. My channel doesn't get a lot of support from the platforms themselves. I feel that I'm sometimes shadow banned, or I know on YouTube they openly cancel me periodically, but if you can still share the information about this on any platform you can that caters to veterans, and make this like a meeting point, a meeting place for people to come and keep tabs and keep up with us on what's going on. I yield.
Ellie, I think that so many of the people that are on the areas that you put your podcast on, if they're listening to something for a certain reason, I ran across you the first time because you were talking about patches, health patches. And but I was also at that time in active with the Republic, and my thing is that I know, like Nancy was talking about only being 3 people in Georgia, but there are that number of military bases on there. In that state. I think of Fort Benning right off the bat, and where Big Bird is down in Colorado Springs, and there is in that area there is Cheyenne Mountain, there is Schreiber, there is Peter, I think it's Peterson and Air Force Academy, and Fort Carson. So there's all these military outlets there, and they're all people there. In many cases, the retired military people quite often don't join the American Legion. They basically retire, and they still have access to all the amenities on the bases. So if they're going to go out, they'll go to the officers club or go to the NCO club and do their party in there. So we have to think more militarily on our focus towards something. And so that's what we have to begin thinking about in our thrust to get more veterans involved, and just the American. Yeah. And where do they hang out? What do they do? And how do we earn their trust? Because there are a lot of other areas out there that have just been ripping off veterans for years. I know when I first came back from Vietnam. Well, let me give you this. There's kind of a the area of esprit de corps. I was in a signal battalion in Germany before I went to Vietnam, and they had lost their colors in Korea. So they were stuck in Europe and could never come back to the United States because of the loss of their colors. However, when I got into Vietnam, I was in the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, and our commander was George Patton Jr. And we had a reputation for being rough and tough. And also the esprit de corps was so high because we were a warring squadron, a warring battalion. And so the attitude that we had toward each other was, I got your back, I have your six. And it was a lot more brotherhood in that than when I was in Europe, because there, everybody that, it was a backstabbing 101 kind of a group. And so I remember that a guy, his name was John McHenry, was a lieutenant colonel at that time. He later became a 3-star general. And he asked me, he said, how do you like it here in Vietnam? I said, it's great. I says, I just came from Europe and I hated it. I hated any time that I was in the Army because of the way that they acted and the overall esprit de corps in there. But I thought Vietnam was easy to go, even though we were being rocketed, we were being ambushed, everything else. But the thing is, we each had each other's back. And that's the whole case now with the veterans. They know that they have one another's back. And and you can, one of the things, one of my counselors once said, he said, you can tell a veteran anything you want to, and he'll believe you. And if he doesn't believe you, he won't tell you to your face. And that struck a note with me. So I had to look at that, and so you have to reevaluate. Be honest with everybody, and especially the veterans, because they've been through all the bullshit already. So they know where it's at. I yield.
Well, if I can piggyback on that, having recently retired within the last 6 years, I couldn't agree more. A lot of the guys I know that have done their time and retired or got out, most of us just want to be left alone. We don't really want to get involved in anything. We just want to enjoy our peace. I spent the better part of 20 years at war. I did, I always say 13 deployments. The 13th one was the one I never came home from. I did plenty of deployments on ship. I did one boots on ground tour that lasted a year. I was out west in Anbar Province, Iraq, with the Marine Corps, and it was the Wild West. And I'll tell you, the last thing I want in my life is any more drama. But I'm here, and I'm probably one of the younger members of the Republic. There's a lot to be said there too, because most of the folks that I associate with got anywhere between 12 and 25 years on me, and I'm almost 48 years old. So there's something to be said there. It may just be, I don't want to say it's an age demographic thing, but it certainly is a maturity thing. It's also an awareness. Do you really understand what's going on around you? And to be honest with you, 95% of the people I encounter are still asleep. They just want to turn on the football game when they get home, crack open a beer, and just kind of phase off into the ether. Well, it's going to take a little more self-discipline by turning off the TV. If you're going to pick up a love novel while you're taking your hot bath, why don't you turn on a Republic podcast? Just check it out. Give it 5 minutes. See if it might change your mind. And if there's any kind of curiosity, uh, you know, have a little thirst, have a little hunger, look for the adventure, because this is the most amazing time to be alive. The changes that are going on in our country are phenomenal. And whether you can see it or not right now, that's kind of irrelevant. But if you can at least acknowledge the fact that we as the Republic exist, there are founding members, there are people who've been around for a long time. I've only been in this for a couple of years, and it's been an uphill battle. We have fought infiltration on multiple levels, on multiple occasions. It's still happening to us. There's people that have, evil agendas, so to speak, and they don't want to see us succeed. Some of them have been trained by the military. Some not so much. They're just evil people that don't want to see the status quo changed. And sorry, but not sorry. It's long overdue. Over.
And I just want to say that, what we're seeing right now in the public is people are starting to become aware of this satanic political system that we have. And they're really, like, I have a daughter that's starting to read the Epstein files, and she's falling to her knees and starting to pray, and she didn't realize that there's an operation going on. So somebody mentioned the Fall of the Cabal series. I would recommend anybody who have people that are just cracking to watch that Fall of the Cabal, because it's a more positive approach to the information, and what they're getting out in the public right now is just shocking them. And it's probably 0.5% of the terrible things out there, but they're starting to wake up and starting to crack. And but what's weird too is what I'm noticing is they're going to school or they're going to work, and they're still not able to talk about it. They're holding it all in, just like we did as we went down this journey. We didn't have anybody to talk to. But when I came into the Republic, I had people of the same mindset, the same truth, the same people that, they have a backbone, and they're like, no, I'm going to participate and do what I can. And for me, this has always been about the children. It will always be about the children. And we have to stand up for that. We have to stand up for them, for our kids, for the future kids. It's what it's all about. And the worst will come out soon, and you'll see it. So join us today and stand up for the Republic. That's all I got to say.
Paul, I'll piggyback on
Eli.
that. Can you remember that all of the Marines and the SEALs that have been rescuing the kids from underground dumps and bringing them up in that, those guys are going to have horrible PTSD just because of what they were seeing. All of them were coming up and they were crying when they had those babies. And those are they're going to want, and they're going to need to know, why is this happening in our country? And we offer them that refuge to know, because we won't give them the lies, we'll give them the truth. And that's the whole thing that the Republic has, is that we offer truth where we've been lied to all our lives, all the way back to 1871. It's been a lie. And even before that, but that's where we can document it, that it was changed and they put us into an incorporation. So those are some of the things that we can offer them without them being lied to, just like the mainstream media is doing to them all the time. I yield.
Governor Carpenter, if I'd
Eli.
like to comment on that. There's hope, folks.
Yes.
I know that we've all heard little whispers about healing frequencies and computer healing frequencies called med beds.
Yep.
And I have it from very reliable sources, very top of the line, reliable sources, that these med beds coming out, which will be starting within our military community initially before they go launch out into the public, but still, they will even heal the DNA scars from traumatic stress syndrome and other stresses that we encounter. And so there is a total healing available that is ours as soon as we organize so that it can be ours. And I'll yield with that.
Governor, I saw a thing the other night that there are only 5 states that have them set up now, and Colorado is on the list to be next, where they're beginning to set up, and to the open to the public type of thing. I yield.
Well, there's several different levels. The one I'm talking about is the one that regrows limbs and teeth and sets you back to 35 years old with your DNA. And that also relieves those traumatic stress scars in our
In the
DNA.
door.
But there
Yeah.
are other levels of med beds out there, and I'm not saying they don't
Yeah.
work. They're just not quite as efficient as this very most exclusive one is.
Yeah.
I personally ran into that with a Rife machine back in the 1980s, and I had a heel spur
Mhm.
and 2 sessions on the Rife machine, and I walked out without a heel spur. And I'm a believer
Yep.
in healing technologies. Yes, I am. I yield.
Nancy, go ahead.
I have a Bible app and it just popped up. It's just pray and everything will be fine. I disagree. We need to every day where we join and we pray and we do very also, and you can't do anything around. You can spread these videos around. Everyone can do something. Just pray and everything will be okay. It's not like Jesus is going to part the sky and do all the work for us. No, it's all about we, the people. The people have to stand up. Do you really like being a slave? Do you really like what's happening to the children? Because I could say some things here that would be considered, I guess, maybe inappropriate, but they're true. What they have done to our children is beyond measure. It made me stop my life. It made me change my life, get on a different course, lose everything, lose everybody. I don't care. I don't care. I will never stop fighting. And we need the people to wake up. Now, I yield.
Yeah, I'm also I on my channel I often talk about that it's not enough to have good intentions. You really have to act. You have to do something. And the idea of joining the Republic and actually doing something instead of trying to decipher what's really going on right now, you're never going to figure it out, because so much of this is a continuance of governance operations. It's all a movie, and we don't really know, is Pam Bondi, for example, which side is she on? It really doesn't matter, because the military is in control of much of the narrative, and you're wasting, in my opinion, you're wasting your time trying to figure it out instead of acting, sharing videos, being out there, joining the Republic. This is an amazing opportunity we have to actually do something, and much more than just talking and speaking and getting angry and all this stuff, which could be a bit of a waste of time. The real deal and the real manifestation, in my observation, takes place when you do something. If you really want to manifest a new life, you thinking about it and saying mantras is not enough. You have to really move your body and do stuff.
Take the first step.
There's another thing on there, Eli, or Ellie. I keep pronouncing Eli. It's Ellie.
Either way is fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's another thing in there, and that's in the Bible. It says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." Now, when you're given the world in a country, I mean, all of the freedoms that we have, all of the blessings and all of the controls and everything, much is expected from you. And that expectation comes from the Republic, in that we have to learn about our Constitution. We have to learn about the war manuals. We got to learn about the military, and we have to learn about our state constitutions, and so all of that is a learning session. But at the same time, you are becoming more knowledgeable, and with more knowledge, more responsibility will come. And that's what we have to do. You got to, if you think about the signers of the Declaration of Independence, so much was dependent on them, and many of them ended up dying destitute because of their commitment to what they believed. I yield.
I'll say another reason why you want to join the Republic too is, we have an application we call Wire, and we post a lot of things in our Wire, and one of them is a health channel that we have. And the people that are involved in that health channel provide so much information on things that are good for you, and treatments for the vax. But it's our people, it's we the people that are sharing that information with each other, just like we're doing today. This is how it gets around. It's not going to come through 9 News or Fox News. It's going to come through us. Everything else has been filtered and shut down. So again, we've got this wonderful health channel that you can be part of to get information. So another good reason to join. And again, if you understand the logic of what happened, how we were taken over in the Organic Act of 1871, that's the cabal system that's behind all this child trafficking and everything else. And I will say, from my point of view, they're not human. That's the problem. We shouldn't refer to them as human. They're not in any way, shape, or form. And that's why they can do these things to children and people and us, because they're not human. They see themselves as higher than us. And that's they think they're entitled, royalty. They're not royal to me. They're not anything except, the worst of the worst in this reality that we live in. So again, come help us fight. I yell.
This is Deborah, interim governor for Texas Free State. And I want to interject something into standing up. And that is, I'm in a personal battle, and I've been in it for about 4 years. And I have friends often ask me how it's going. So I give them updates. And one day a friend said to me, "Debbie, I thought you said this was God's battle." I said, "It is God's battle." And she said, "Well, then let him fight it." And I really didn't know how to respond to that. So I contemplated over that, meditated on it, prayed about it. And I finally got my answer from the Lord. And he said, "Deborah, that is true. This is my battle. However, I needed David to bend over and pick up that rock. I needed Moses to stand there and hold up his arms. And when he couldn't hold him up any longer, his brother and sister had to help him. And I needed Esther to gain courage to go stand before that king. I work, but I work through my people, and I will work through you." And it wasn't long after that, watching a podcast, somebody mentioned Sandy Mariecki on the podcast, and I was watching it, and just something in my spirit, something in my conscience resonated, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was hearing truth. I'd gone down the rabbit holes. I found out about the children. I watched the fall of Cabal. And yet it took that video to give me a vehicle in order to help me show what I could do. There wasn't, I'm back here going, what can I do? Well, I'm a 60-year-old female. What can I do? While watching that video, I joined the Republic before that podcast was even over and just dove in and started educating myself, started reading the founding documents of our country that I wasn't taught in school. I started reading the founding documents to this re-inhabited republic and got together with just a handful of people here in Texas, in my county, and I'm in one of the larger counties. I'm in Tarrant County. And I tell you, the first time we went down to the courthouse to stand up our county, it took us 8 minutes to park, about 11 minutes to do the reading, the assignment, and then we went for barbecue. And then we sat at barbecue for over 2.5 hours because we finally found a group of people that were awake and knew and had gone down the same rabbit holes, and we couldn't stop talking. And I remember driving home that night. I have a 20-minute drive home, and I was so excited because somebody mentioned hope. For the first time, I had hope. I had hope that this is a way out of this system. This is a way out of this cabal. And I thought to myself, I wonder how many counties around Tarrant County have signed up for the Republic, and they're doing this. And I got to be honest, I've lived in Texas now 20 years. I didn't even know who my surrounding counties were. But I tell you what, I went to work the next day. We have a large map in the conference room, and I wrote down the 8 surrounding counties that touch Tarrant County. And then I went to the website, worked with Sandy Mariecki, who was the interim governor at that time, and got the list. And I just started reaching. My name is Deborah. I'm in Tarrant County, and we want to see what other counties are willing to stand up with this. And I got to tell you, 7 out of the 10 counties that I reached out to, they were just like me. They were just like you, who knows there's a better way, who wants to have hope, who wants to do something, and you don't know what to do. This is something that you can do. I promise you. I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
And I yield.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yep. And I just want to congratulate Deborah. I mean, you're the hero that stood up and said, I can do something about this. And even at your age, you're like a fighter. And those are the people that we need. You know, you're exactly what we need. And so I appreciate all you've done and everything you just said just now. And even if we save one person out there, if one person joins this republic, I kind of feel I've done my job, God. If just I can save one person and bring him hope closer to you, God, and closer to this republic and what freedom is really all about. I yield. Thank you, Deborah.
Amen. Amen. I'll interject something else. So I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Then I moved to Southern California, lived there 20 years before coming to Texas. I had 3 of my younger children graduated from the University of Texas in Austin. I sold them the American dream that I was sold and didn't get quite to live out. So I have 3 college graduates. My youngest one is my only girl. Well, she decides she wants to live out her dream, and she wants to move to my home state of New York. And that's where she moved, down to Manhattan. And I run a small business here in Fort Worth, and I have for 21 years. She called me one day and said, Mom, I need you to help me to fill out this employment paperwork. It was her first real job after graduating college. And we got to the part about state tax. And she said, what's this? And I said, baby girl, I don't know. She goes, what do you mean you don't know? You do payroll for your company. And I said, well, first of all, that's why I live in Texas, because we don't have state tax. But second of all, you have county tax, and then you're going to have sales tax. You're going to have all these taxes. So speed up about 2.5 weeks after she gets her first paycheck. Makes me cry every time. Her first paycheck, 38% of her paycheck went to taxes. 38%. And that is before she paid for Subway, before she paid for the train, before she paid for an Uber, before she paid sales tax. 38%. I figured that she's probably in over 42%. It's probably going to go higher with that Nimrod that they installed in there in New York State. However, that's what got me on this fight. That's what burned. And I'm guilty, and I repented for selling my kids the American dream, and I didn't know, but I didn't know what I did. Well, guess what? I now know, and I'm going to, until my dying breath, I will fight to make this right. Maybe not for myself, but for my children and my grandchildren. I will fight, and I yield.
I just want to comment on my fellow patriots here that are on the live. There's a lot of amazing energy that you're sharing, and I share that with you, and I appreciate all of you being here. The biggest thing is just showing up. I've probably got 120 patriots signed up in El Paso County, Colorado. Sad part is we only have about 10 to 12 of the same usual suspects show up for the assembly meetings and participate. And everybody seems to think, oh,
Yes.
I haven't got time. And man, give me a break. I work a full-time job. I've got a side hustle. I've got 2 little boys. I got a wife. I got a house to keep up. And here I am. It only takes maybe 2 hours a week, maybe 3. Just participate. Just check it out. It doesn't take much. We're not asking for donations. We're just asking for your time. And I know there's only 24 hours in a day, but dang, I used to date this gal when I was stationed in Virginia, and her daddy was a retired colonel. And he'd always tell me, well, young man, if you haven't got an hour for God, you haven't got an hour for anything. And I've even made my way back to the church a couple of years ago, got baptized, found my way into a discipleship. And I have a wonderful leader who is, he's been walking me hand in hand for the last 2.5 years through the Bible. And it has made such a difference in my life. And bringing my beliefs back and building my relationship with God has been tremendous. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better father. It's made me a better patriot. And I just want to say, if you don't have the time, I think you need to take a look in the mirror and reevaluate your schedule, because there's a lot more to life than NFL and, who's got talent.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to segue here real quick, because there was a comment that Justice Marquez made, and that was talking about the dumbs. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's not real. Okay, well then tell me why Trump initiated in September of 2018, there was an article that came out talking about the underground and tunnel warfare program. And Trump flat out said, I'm going to make them pay for it. Well, that was earmarked for $572 million. Well, guess what happened in August of 2019? This is a Washington Post article. You can go and look it up. Johnson & Johnson settled in court. There was a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against them, but they settled in court for $572 million. That is not a normal number. That's not just something that they cherry-picked out of the air. Well, guess where that money went? That went to go pay for that tunnel and underground warfare program. And yeah, you're right, Senator Rodriguez. Those guys that are going to be coming out of those tunnels, they're going to be messed up. And I'll tell you, I've got a lot of friends that have served in law enforcement, special warfare, and they have seen some stuff. And I'll tell you, these are hardened warriors. These are dudes that wouldn't flinch at anything. And I've seen them cry like babies over some of the stuff they've seen. Now, I've got my own personal experiences. I'm a survivor of child sexual assault. That's not something I like sharing publicly, but I'll put it out there. I'll tell you, I have a very sincere disdain for the people that are involved, all the hundreds of thousands of them around the world that are doing harm to children. And as a father, I'll tell you what, I do not let my kids out of sight when we are out in public. my wife and I both, we're helicopter parents. You know, not in the sense that, oh, if they fall and get a boo-boo, I'm like, dude, rub some dirt on it. You'll be all right. But I'm talking about those people. And I have some shirts that say things like pew pew all PDFs. And, you know, I haven't had but maybe one person get offended at it. And all I told them was, well, then you're part of the problem. So let them be offended. I don't care. But I'm here for my kids and I'm here for everybody else's kids. And I'm passionate about it. And I'll tell you what, should that day ever arrive where I have to, you know, face the cops or the sheriff and they're asking, how'd this fella get in the wood chipper? I'm going to say, you know what? I have no idea, but I made the arrangement.
Yeah.
Eli.
Yeah.
I have some homework for people. Write this down.
I'm having a little problem with your audio, Nancy. Oh, Nancy's going to come back. But yeah, the bottom line is, let me just see if I can get Nancy back. Nancy, where did she go? Here she is.
All day, and now I'm having lots of internet issues.
Some internet glitches, yeah. Well, I think Nancy, I'm having trouble getting. Let me see if I can get her. Nancy is so passionate and so beautiful about all this.
I want to finish. I want you to write this down. 501c3. 501c3. That is a rabbit hole that I went down deep, deep, deep. Because if the door of the church was open, I was there. I had the key to the church. I was mission director for 7 years at a huge $1 million church every year. Okay. And then I did the research on 501c3. I hadn't been back to church. I'm not telling you not to go to church. I'm asking you to go to your financial secretary, go to your preacher and say, are we a 501c3? I'll make it very easy for you. If you get a tax deduction for anything you give to your church, you are in a 501c3. I'm not talking about the church being evil. I'm not talking about the people that sitting in the pews being evil. I'm not even talking about the preacher being evil. But the 501c3 corporation that lords over the churches, very evil. I mean, very evil.
There you go.
Who goes to church? Little children? Who sends their children to church? People that just appreciate the break for 2 hours because they're exhausted from working all the time. It's all a big game, y'all. This church thing, we have to stop supporting the 501c3 churches. And it's like, well, I'm going to lose my tax write-off. Hey, look, I use that, like, imagine on my taxes that I haven't paid, that it's not that I haven't paid, it's that I haven't submitted the forms for the illegal taxation in many, many, many years now. So look up the 501c3. There's your homework.
Okay, does anybody else want to add any concluding remarks before we call it a day?
Governor Carpenter, if I could, I appreciate what you just said, and you're 90% correct. And I don't always mean to be a know-it-all, but when I joined my latest church, a cowboy church, I asked him if we were a 501c3, and he said yes. I said, well, who owns the church? Is it the denomination or is it the people? He said, no, we set it up in a special trust that it's the people, the membership. So, you know, you own a piece of this multi-million-dollar property equally with the other members. I said, well, I understand. So Shelby Smith and his advocates specializes in setting churches free from the 501c3. And so I introduced that concept through Kelby's book and talking to him, and the church and Kelby are talking together, and we'll see where that goes. But yes, you are right. That's a terrible place to be, and it's very deceptive. And you pretty well nailed it. I yield.
Thank you. I did a deep dive. I also called 3 preachers that loved me until I called them to talk about the 501c3, and they couldn't wait to get off the phone with me, and I haven't heard from them since.
Yeah, it's a very touchy subject for sure. And, there's a lot of ego involved there because a man of God doesn't want to say, flock, we may need to make an adjustment here.
Right.
That
They want
there's a
things
problem.
real
And,
smooth, real smooth.
it's all about ego and not who you serve, right? And this republic's about who you serve because you're going to stand before God in history and be judged. And I yield.
That's right.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And again, I just want to remind everyone who gets to see this production or gets to share it that we are keeping a regular schedule for every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a call to all veterans. Please join us in re-inhabiting and reinstituting the Republic, divine law. Let us get out of this corporation, all this trickery and thieving and crazy criminal activity that is part and parcel of this government, into a divine rule of law where we're not worried about tax breaks or, God forbid, trafficking children or money laundering, that we can live as sovereign citizens and build our houses, build our families, build our communities with love and justice, without the lawyers that are always tricking us with the, like you said, with the black robes and all that. It's just it's satanic, and we are not satanic. We are people of the divine inspiration, and we welcome you to join us here. It's not a religion, it's a government. We are the Republic, and it's divinely inspired, and we ask everyone to come and take action, make the time, and join us in reestablishing the Republic.
Okay.
We're good?
Yes.
All right.
Eli, look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, we'll see you next Thursday, and thank everyone for being here, and please spread this around.
Yep.
We're looking for all the veterans and everybody else to come and join us with this project. The sooner the better, and as soon as we get it, we get to a certain number, the White Hats have indicated that Jassara law will be instituted. So if you're sitting there saying, oh my gosh, it's all going, we need the EBS, we need this, we need that, what we really need is for everyone to just stand up, take part in the repopulation, the reforming, the re-inhabitation of the Republic, and spreading the message forth. And let's get it on, man. Let's rock. All right. Anybody else have any last minute thoughts?
Eli, I just want to thank you for all you've done. You're again one of God's warriors, all you've been through, and you're still a fighter. And I want you to keep fighting for us, and we're going to keep fighting also. So thank you very much.
Okay, and also I just want to give a standing invitation to anybody who wants to come on my main program in the evening and just talk for a few minutes about the Republic. You're always welcome. Just reach out to me, and we'll make sure it's done. But we're going to do this. It's going to happen, and the creeps are going. We're going to make this planet into a dwelling place for the divine, and for divine love and divine respect and all these great things. We are rebuilding the world. It's so exciting to be a part of it. We ask you to come join us. We invite you to come join us and take part of this amazing opportunity to rebuild the Republic. So we'll see you next Thursday, and God bless everyone. And let's get out there, right? Let's say it together. Let's get out there and rock the world.
Let's rock it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's say it one more time. Let's get out there and rock
it.
the world.
And rock
with a smile. Okay. We'll see you soon. See you next Thursday. God bless.
God bless.